In this video, I'm going to review another bike from the brand Otso. This time, their fat bike, the Voytek. Find out what I like and dislike about it in this review. Welcome back, Pathless Peddlers, and if you're new to the channel, if you love the non-competitive side of cycling, the supple life, and you have found your people, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. So Otso, if you recall, is a newish bike company based out of Minneapolis, and today I'm going to talk about their Voytek, which is a full-on carbon fiber fat bike. So the Voytek, like other fat bikes, are built around the 26-inch wheel size. You'll notice in this review I have studded tires, which are the 45 North Dillinger 5s, which actually measure out to about 4.2 inches on the lithic rims. The studded tires do not come stock, but here in Missoula we always get freeze and thaw, freeze and thaw. So it's an absolute must, in my opinion, to ride with studded tires if you're going to do any fat biking here in Missoula. So not stock, adds a little bit of weight, just something to keep note of. The bike is through axle, front and rear. It uses Magura hydraulic disc brakes. It's set up one by with a Shimano SLX rear derailleur. A couple of interesting bits about this build: it's got a rack adapter and it has a Axiom rack, which is designed to fit around fat tire bikes. Unique to this bike, and something we saw in their Wahila, is the ability to change the overall wheelbase to kind of shorten and tuck that rear end. Interestingly though, although it has that capability, I have not messed around with it because I feel like I need as much wheelbase as I can get in these icy conditions. I think that's a cool feature. Unfortunately, I can't really speak to it. I think it would be super fun to ride the Voytek as a summer bike on actual trails and mess around with the adjustability then. So this bike, as shown with the Crank Brothers pedals, the Axiom rack, the Revlate panniers, it weighs in on our scales about 31.8-ish pounds. So I'm guessing naked it's going to be about 30 pounds, which is pretty good for a fat bike. So how does the bike ride? As you guys know, if you watched my previous videos, kind of had a little bit of a rough start with it. It wasn't so much the bike as it was the stock tires. Just for the conditions here, it's so icy. You know, I took it out for a spin, took a pretty good fall, and was off the bike for almost a month. Finally put just a full pair of studded tires on it, and the riding experience has been exponentially better, mostly because I can stay upright now. So generally, if I were to come up with a word to describe kind of the handling characteristics of the Voytek, it would be nimble. I think for a fat bike, you get certain expectations of how it should steer, of how it should move on the trail, and the Voytek is a pleasant surprise. The front end handling feels pretty light compared to other fat bikes I've tried, so this makes it pretty agile, which could be good or bad depending on your riding style. If you like a little bit more laid back steering in the front, then this might not be your jam, but if you want something that's pretty easy to steer in the front, then consider the Voytek. For me, the biggest differences between the Voytek and the Salsa, aside from the slightly quicker feeling steering, is the front end also feels just a little bit lower, a little bit more stretched out. Where I found the lower front end really helpful is actually on steep climbs. I didn't feel like the bike was pitching me back. I could really dig in there, get that good grip, good traction going up steep hills. Another really noticeable aspect was the QFactor. So QFactor, really quickly, if you're not familiar, is kind of the space at which your legs are set apart, and that's determined by things like the bottom bracket width and the cranks that you're using. So generally, some people believe that a narrower QFactor just feels more natural, leads to less knee problems. Hopping back and forth between the Muckluck and the Voytek, I did notice the wider stance on the Muckluck. So if you're someone that is super sensitive to QFactor and needs something fairly narrow, then the Voytek is a good choice. For me, generally, I only tend to ride fat bikes in the winter for probably no more than 2 hours, so it's less of a bother for me. But if you're doing really long distances and you're sensitive to QFactor, then the Voytek is a good fat bike to look at. So what are the things I like and dislike about the Voytek? First big like is the handling. If you like a quicker feeling fat bike, then the Voytek is definitely up your alley. I believe I'm testing it in its longest wheelbase configuration, so I would be super curious to tuck things up and take it out on some dry trails and see how it rides on the even more nimbler side. Another big like is the aesthetics. I like this darker colorway, if you will. It looks nice and sleek and modern and contemporary, but again, matter of taste. So lots of likes. What are the dislikes? One big dislike is the fork. It doesn't have any of the 3-pack mounts, so you can't put bottle cages up front. You can't put anything cages or front racks or what have you. So you're a little bit more limited in terms of carrying capacity. They do have a Otso branded frame bag, which is made by Revelate. And one cool thing about this frame bag is that it actually directly bolts on to the bike. There's little nubbins under the down tube and on the seat tube, which bolt this to the frame. It's a little bit neater way to attach the frame bag to the bike without all the crazy Velcro. Another minor ding is that the bike in the rear doesn't have eyelets right out of the box. You do have to get like an adapter plate to be able to mount a rear rack and a seat post collar that will take the stage. So although there are options to adapt the bike so it can carry things, it's not built into the frame except for the frame bag stuff. You know, the handling is great, so if you just plan to ride this naked, unloaded, just for fun, then definitely a bike to check out. If you want to use this bike for loaded bike packing, you can adapt the rear. There is that direct mount frame bag, but nothing on the fork, so you're just gonna have to live with that. So overall, a pretty fun bike. It's been interesting to hop between the Salsa Mukluk and the Voytek and try to feel out the nuances. The handling differences are there, but you really have to be paying attention. And I think you could adapt to either fairly well, but you know, out of the box, the Voytek just feels a little bit lighter in the front. And for me, there's something about the front end when I hit a steep hill, it's just easier to keep the front down and maintain that traction. So that is, you know, one big plus in my book. Have any of you guys had a chance to ride the Otso Voytek and compared it to a Mukluk? Let me know what you guys think the differences are in the comments below. If you guys have any other questions, again, leave those in the comments. I will try to answer them as best as I can. If you guys like content like this, consider supporting the channel via the PayPal and Patreon links. Every bit helps. It keeps me motivated to keep making content. So thanks again for watching, and as always, keep the studded side down.